Melanie Davies was a dedicated mother, doing her best to raise her two sons, Zachary and Josh, after the devastating loss of their father, Chris, to ALS. However, Zachary's mental health took a concerning turn following his father's death. He began experiencing auditory hallucinations, hearing voices in his head. Melanie sought psychiatric help for Zachary, but inexplicably stopped taking him to appointments, leaving his condition untreated and worsening. As a teenager, Zachary became a loner, exhibiting peculiar behaviors that set him apart from his peers. He always wore the same hooded sweatshirt, regardless of the weather, and rarely smiled or interacted with others. Despite his oddities, no one could have predicted the horrific act he would commit on August 10, 2012. On that fateful night, after watching a comedy movie with his mother and brother, Zachary meticulously prepared for a chilling plan he had been brewing for days. He packed a backpack with supplies, including a claw hammer, as if anticipating a getaway. As his family slept, Zachary retrieved a sledgehammer from the garage and viciously bludgeoned his mother Melanie to death, striking her at least 8 times. In a twisted attempt to eliminate his brother Josh, Zachary poured whiskey around his room and set it on fire, closing the door to trap him inside. Miraculously, the closed door contained the flames, allowing Josh to escape the smoke-filled room and alert the neighbors, who called the authorities. 5 hours after the brutal attack, Zachary was apprehended by police, covered in his mother's blood and exhibiting a chilling lack of remorse. What followed was a series of disturbing revelations and bizarre behavior that would cement Zachary's infamous legacy as the Sledgehammer killer. As the shocking details of Zachary's crime captured national attention, the case took an unprecedented turn when he agreed to a televised interview with Dr. Phil before even standing trial. This decision would provide the world with a deeply unsettling glimpse into the mind of the remorseless Sledgehammer killer. During the interview, Dr. Phil did not hold back, posing blunt questions about the gruesome murder and Zachary's motives. Zachary's responses were chilling. He spoke in a slow, eerie voice, nodding his head and occasionally letting out disturbing laughs as he recounted the brutal details of that fateful night. His demeanor was utterly devoid of emotion, his eyes blank and haunting, leading many viewers to theorize that he might be possessed by demonic forces. The interview quickly went viral, garnering over 13 million views on YouTube and cementing Zachary's notoriety as one of the most infamous killers of the 21st century. The public's reaction to the interview was overwhelmingly negative, with people expressing disturbance and outrage at Zachary's seeming lack of remorse and his eerie, almost inhuman presence. Some even speculated that his creepy voice and mannerisms were the result of mental illness or possession, desperate to find an explanation for such incomprehensible evil, especially from someone so young. Despite the damning evidence, including Zachary's confession and the chilling interview that had already shaped public perception, the case proceeded to trial. Zachary's defense team attempted various strategies, including claiming he was mentally unfit to stand trial and alleging that he had been sexually abused by his brother Josh, which Josh vehemently denied. As Zachary's high-profile trial progressed, a bizarre and unexpected twist unfolded that left the courtroom utterly dumbfounded. After confessing multiple times to brutally murdering his mother with a sledgehammer, Zachary suddenly changed his story in front of the jury, declaring his innocence and claiming that he had been covering for his brother Josh, who was the true culprit. This shocking reversal came as a complete surprise to everyone involved, including Zachary's own attorneys, who had been basing their defense on his mental illness and lack of ability to distinguish right from wrong due to psychosis. They were forced to confront Zachary about this abrupt change in his account, reminding him of his previous detailed confessions. However, Zachary remained adamant, insisting that he was innocent and had only been protecting his brother. This bizarre turn of events was yet another disturbing display of Zachary's detachment from reality and the gravity of his actions. Despite his implausible claim of innocence, the overwhelming evidence against Zachary, including his initial confession, left little doubt about his guilt. His attorneys were left with no choice but to disregard his last-minute denial and proceed with their original defense strategy, arguing that Zachary was so severely mentally ill that he lacked the capacity to understand the consequences of his actions. Ultimately, after a 4-day trial, Zachary was found guilty of first-degree homicide and sentenced to 71 years in prison, meaning he would be 88 years old before being eligible for parole. His outlandish claim of innocence did little to sway the jury or the court, serving only to further highlight the depths of his disturbed psyche and the incomprehensible nature of his crimes. As the investigation into Zachary's heinous crime unfolded, a deeply unsettling window into his thought process and motives emerged from an unlikely source, his own diary. The entries found within this journal provided chilling insights into the mind of the Sledgehammer killer, offering disturbing glimpses of his twisted reasoning and utter lack of remorse. One particularly haunting admission came in the form of a single sentence. "My only true regret was that I didn't give her a faster death. I didn't want her to suffer." This cold, calculated statement regarding his desire to end his mother's life more swiftly sent shockwaves through the courtroom, underscoring the depths of Zachary's detachment from basic human empathy. Further diary entries revealed that Zachary had been meticulously planning his brutal attack on his family for days, carefully packing supplies and making preparations as if anticipating a getaway after committing the unthinkable act. The level of premeditation and forethought he exhibited was deeply unsettling, particularly for someone of such a young age. Perhaps most chilling of all were the entries that seemed to confirm Zachary's claims of being influenced by auditory hallucinations, voices in his head compelling him to act. While the validity of these claims was subject to scrutiny, they nonetheless painted a disturbing portrait of a mind in the grips of severe psychosis, potentially offering a glimpse into the twisted rationale behind his actions. Despite the wealth of evidence in Zachary's own admissions, many questions remained unanswered, leaving an air of haunting mystery surrounding the case. Why did he truly commit such a horrific act against his own mother? Was he truly guided by voices, or was this a convenient excuse? And most importantly, could such a profoundly disturbed individual ever be rehabilitated and safely reintegrated into society? In a shocking twist during the trial, Zachary made an unfounded and deeply disturbing accusation against his own brother Josh. In a desperate attempt to either absolve himself or mitigate his sentence, Zachary claimed that the true motivation behind his mother's murder was the alleged sexual abuse he had suffered at the hands of his brother. This allegation came as a complete blindside to Josh, who vehemently denied the claims when called to the stand as a witness. There was absolutely no evidence to support Zachary's accusation, leaving it as nothing more than his word against his brother's. The implausibility of Zachary's claim was further compounded by the fact that, by all accounts, the brothers had enjoyed a close and loving relationship prior to the tragic events. Their former classmates, and those who knew the family well, attested to the strong bond between Zachary and Josh, making the accusation of abuse seem like a desperate and unfounded attempt at deflection. Zachary's willingness to falsely implicate his brother in such a heinous way was yet another disturbing glimpse into his apparent lack of empathy and moral compass. It seemed that he was willing to say or do anything, no matter how outrageous or hurtful, in order to potentially escape the consequences of his own actions. The baseless accusation against Josh not only further tarnished Zachary's already diminished credibility, but also cast doubt on the validity of his other claims, such as being influenced by voices in his head. It became increasingly difficult to separate truth from delusion, leaving many to wonder whether Zachary was truly struggling with mental illness or simply a master manipulator willing to exploit any avenue to avoid taking responsibility for his crimes. After a 4-day trial filled with shocking twists, disturbing revelations, and Zachary's own bizarre behavior, the jury ultimately rendered their verdict, guilty of first-degree homicide. The court wasted no time in delivering a harsh sentence that would likely ensure Zachary spent the majority of his life behind bars. Zachary Davis, the infamous Sledgehammer killer, was condemned to 71 years in prison for the brutal murder of his mother, Melanie. With this lengthy sentence, he would not be eligible for parole until the age of 88, virtually guaranteeing that he would die in prison. The severity of the sentence was a direct reflection of the heinous nature of Zachary's crime and the overwhelming evidence against him, including his own initial confession. Despite his attempts to cast doubt and deflect blame, the court saw through his delusions and manipulation, delivering a punishment befitting the gravity of his actions. While some may argue that life in prison is a merciful alternative to capital punishment, in Zachary's case, it could be seen as a fate worse than death. His profound detachment from reality and apparent lack of remorse or moral compass raised serious doubts about his potential for rehabilitation or successful reintegration into society. As Zachary began his likely permanent residency in the confines of a maximum security prison, many were left grappling with the haunting question: what could drive a teenage boy to commit such an unthinkable act of violence against his own mother? Was it the result of untreated mental illness, demonic possession, or simply an inherent evil that defied explanation? Regardless of the reasons, the Sledgehammer killer's case would forever be etched into the annals of true crime history, serving as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity and the importance of seeking help for those struggling with mental health issues before it's too late. Even after Zachary Davis's conviction and lengthy prison sentence, the Sledgehammer killer case left behind a trail of unanswered questions and lingering mysteries that continue to perplex and disturb those who followed the horrific events. At the core of these lingering enigmas lies the perpetual uncertainty surrounding Zachary's true motives and mental state at the time of the brutal slaying. While the defense team attempted to portray him as a deeply disturbed individual gripped by psychosis and commanded by auditory hallucinations, the validity of these claims remains a topic of heated debate. Were the voices in Zachary's head a genuine symptom of severe mental illness, or a convenient excuse concocted by a cunning manipulator? His own erratic behavior and shifting narratives throughout the trial process only muddied the waters further, leaving observers to wonder whether they were witnessing the unraveling of a truly deranged mind or the calculated deceptions of a remorseless killer. Furthermore, Zachary's unfounded accusation of sexual abuse against his brother Josh only added to the sense of haunting ambiguity surrounding the case. With no evidence to support the claim, it raised questions about Zachary's willingness to implicate an innocent family member, potentially shedding doubt on the veracity of his other statements. Even the role of Zachary's mother, Melanie, in his descent into madness remained a point of contention. Some questioned why she had stopped taking her son to his psychiatric appointments, leaving his condition untreated and potentially allowing it to fester into something far more sinister. As the years passed and Zachary remained confined to the stark reality of his prison cell, the visceral horror of his crime showed no signs of fading from the public consciousness. The Sledgehammer killer had etched his name into the darkest annals of true crime lore, leaving a haunting legacy of unanswered questions and a sobering reminder of the unfathomable depths of human depravity. Thank you for tuning into today's exploration of unsettling truths in the pursuit of justice. Remember, the stories we discussed are based on information available at the time of recording, and due to the evolving nature of legal proceedings, details may change. We recommend keeping an eye on these cases through further personal research. To ensure you stay updated with the latest episodes and developments, please subscribe to our podcast. We appreciate your engagement and curiosity. Until next time, take a moment to breathe easy and find some peace knowing that every story shared today is a step towards uncovering the truth. Stay safe and informed, and we look forward to bringing you more stories from the shadows.